Today, we are opening up the skull, metaphorically, of course, to look at the bleeding edge of medical AI, specifically targeting one of the most time sensitive and high stakes diagnoses: brain tumors.
Yeah, this is a scenario where every single hour counts. We know that conditions like malignant gliomas, they're highly aggressive,
Right.
which means that early detection and critically precise grading or staging, that can be the difference. The difference between successful intervention and, well, devastating outcomes.
Absolutely. And the baseline reality for many clinics, maybe especially outside major cities, it's challenging. Diagnosis needs specialized neuroradiological skills to manually analyze these huge, high resolution 3D MRI scans.
And that process isn't just slow, it's also really prone to human variability. Different experts might see slightly different things.
Plus, that specialized expertise simply isn't available everywhere, is it? Particularly in resource limited settings.
That's precisely the gap this research is trying to fill. We're looking at a novel, kind of hybrid deep learning framework. It's designed to be a complete shortcut to an informed diagnosis.
A shortcut? How so?
Well, its mission is pretty unique. It combines the difficult task of finding the tumor with the equally tough job of classifying its exact stage WHO grades I through 5E. And it does this in a single, efficient workflow. And maybe most importantly, it's designed to be interpretable.
Okay, interpretable. That's key. Let's unpack this. So, the foundation is the MRI scan. We know it's non invasive, gives amazing soft tissue contrast, and that crucial 3D picture.
Right, but previous AI attempts often stumbled. They treated the whole process as two separate clunky steps.
First, find the tumor segmentation, then classify it.
Exactly. Efficiency was one issue. But the real hurdle, the thing stopping doctors from really trusting these systems, was the black box problem.
You mean getting an answer without knowing why?
Precisely. A clinician can't confidently base a treatment plan on an AI prediction if there's no explanation behind it. It's an ethical issue, too. And historically, most AI systems focus just on the tumor type. There's a glioma, meningioma, and sort of skipped over the critical staging part.
Which dictates treatment, right? Aggressive or conservative.
Exactly. So this new framework, it had to tackle all three: efficiency, interpretability, and staging, all in one go.
So it's a unified pipeline. Let's walk through it. Segmentation,
Then multi-level feature extraction.
feature compression, which sounds important for efficiency.
And finally, multi-output classification, type and stage.
Okay, let's start with detection. You can't classify a tumor until you've found it and, I guess, isolated it really well.
Exactly. Accurate segmentation is step one. You need to isolate that region of interest, the tumor itself. This cuts down all the background noise from healthy brain tissue. It dramatically improves the quality of the data you feed into the next stage.
Makes sense. So what tool are they using for this critical first step?
They're using something pretty advanced: an attention-enhanced residual UNet. Let's call it ResUNet.
Okay, ResUNet. What's the residual part doing?
The residual part is about depth. It helps the network learn effectively, even when it's very deep, solving a common problem called vanishing gradients that can plague simpler deep networks. Keeps the learning stable.
And the attention enhanced bit, that sounds like the upgrade.
It really is. Think of it like adding a smart highlighting tool to the network. The attention mechanism is built right into the structure.
So what does it actually do?
It dynamically learns where to focus. Like student scanning a dense page, it learns to pay more attention to the most salient features, maybe the fuzzy edge of a tumor, subtle changes in intensity.
Ah, so it helps refine the boundaries.
Exactly. It helps the model zero in on the important details, refining the tumor's edge, reducing false positives, basically teaching the AI where to look more closely.
That must be vital for tumors that aren't just sepal blobs, the ones that spread out, right?
Absolutely. Infiltrative tumors are a huge challenge.
Yeah.
And they added another clever piece for practicality:
Okay.
quantization, to make sure this powerful model isn't just stuck in a lab with supercomputers, but can actually run in, say, a regional hospital.
Quantization. You mean reducing the precision, like making the numbers less detailed?
That's right. Think about going from, say, a high-detail 32-bit number for each weight in the network down to a simpler 8-bit integer.
Wow, that sounds like a big drop. Doesn't that hurt the accuracy? You're throwing away information?
You are, but it's a calculated trade-off. It's like switching from a super detailed color photo to a really sharp black and white sketch. You lose some nuance, but you keep the essential structure, the lines, the boundaries needed for identification. The payoff is huge in terms of saving memory and processing power. It makes the model much lighter.
And did it work? What was the segmentation performance?
Impressive, actually. They achieved a dice similarity coefficient. That's the standard measure for how well the predicted segmentation overlaps the real one of 89.3%.
89.3%. That sounds pretty solid for carving out something as complex as a brain tumor.
It is. It shows robust boundary detection, which is exactly what you need for that next step.
Okay, so we found the tumor and outlined it accurately, but a human radiologist does more than just see the outline, right? They look inside at the texture, the structure.
Correct. That's where the clinical judgment comes in.
Mm-hmm.
How does the AI replicate that? And crucially, how do we trust it?
Yeah, how do we avoid that black box?
This is where things get really interesting. It's what the paper calls feature fusion for interpretability. It's about combining different kinds of information.
Okay.
The framework extracts two totally complementary sets of features from that segmented tumor volume we just talked about.
Two sets. What's the first one? More standard deep learning.
Exactly. The deep volumetric features, they use a 3D ResNet for this. It digs into the texture, the intensity variations, the sort of semantic characteristics inside the tumor across its whole 3D volume.
Okay, so that captures the stuff inside. What's the second feature set? You said complementary.
This is the really novel part. Topological features. They generate these using something called persistent homology, or pH.
Persistent homology, topology. We're talking pure math now.
We are. pH comes from a field called topological data analysis, PDA. It's about finding the essential, stable, structural features of a shape, things that don't change easily if you stretch or bend it slightly.
Like what kind of features?
Specifically, pH is great at identifying things like holes and voids within the tumor's structure.
Holes, like literally gaps inside the tumor mass.
Essentially, yes, or connected components, tunnels. Think about the classic topology example. A coffee mug and a donut are topologically the same because they both have one hole. pH mathematically quantifies this kind of structural complexity.
Wait, so the AI is using the mathematical description of the tumor's shape complexity, how many holes it has, how connected it is, as a direct input for diagnosis.
Precisely. And that's the key to interpretability. It moves away from just abstract patterns in pixels that the deep network finds. These topological features, the number of holes, their persistence, are mathematically defined and, importantly, can be somewhat intuitive.
How so? How does that help a clinician?
Well, a radiologist can look at the pH output. Maybe it shows a high degree of internal holiness or complex connectivity. They can potentially correlate that mathematical measure back to what they see on the scan,
Yeah.
maybe a very complex, irregular internal structure. It provides a reason related to shape.
Ah, so it's not just a black box prediction. It's saying, I think this is grade third, partly because it has this specific topological complexity.
Exactly. It builds that bridge of understanding and trust. So they take these deep volumetric features, the texture stuff, and concatenate them, basically stick them together with these topological features, the shape stuff.
Giving you a much richer, more holistic description of the tumor, both what it's made of and how it's structured.
Right. A descriptor that's powerful, but also, thanks to pH, partly explainable.
Okay, this sounds incredibly powerful. We've got this attention ResNet for segmentation, a 3D ResNet pulling out deep features, and this persistent homology calculating shape complexity, all from high-res 3D MRI data. But that sounds computationally massive. You mentioned quantization earlier for the segmentation part, but this whole feature extraction pipeline seems intense.
It is. You're right to flag that. The initial stages, especially extracting both volumetric and topological features from 3D data, are computationally demanding. There's no getting around that initial heavy lift.
So how does that square with the goal of deployment in hospitals without supercomputers?
That's exactly why the next step isn't just nice to have, it's absolutely essential. Feature compression. All that rich information extracted creates these very high-dimensional feature tensors.
Big, complex data structures.
Right. And those are not only slow to process for the final classification, but they're also prone to overfitting, where the model learns the training data too well and doesn't generalize.
So you need to slim them down.
They use a technique called Tucker decomposition. It's a form of tensor factorization.
Okay, tensor factorization, like breaking down the complex data structure.
Sort of. Imagine that huge multidimensional database of tumor traits, the fused features. Tucker decomposition finds a way to represent the core information within that tensor using much smaller components. Think of it like finding the most important underlying factors or patterns in the data and representing everything in terms of those factors.
Almost like creating a highly efficient summary or index.
That's a good analogy.
Yeah.
It dramatically reduces the dimensionality, the sheer number of features, while aiming to keep the most critical diagnostic information intact.
And the paper gives specific numbers on this, right? They compress the features quite a bit.
They did. They showed an example reducing the feature dimension from 2048 features down to 512.
Wow, that's a four-fold reduction, a 4.0x compression ratio.
Exactly. And crucially, they reported only a minor drop in accuracy with this level of compression. That's the trade-off you look for. Significant efficiency gain for minimal performance loss.
So this Tucker decomposition is what makes the whole sophisticated pipeline potentially lightweight and deployable.
It's a key enabler, yes. It takes that rich but heavy feature set and makes it manageable. These compressed features are then finally fed into the classification network. And importantly, it's a multitask network.
Meaning it does more than one job.
Right. It has shared initial layers, but then it splits into two separate output heads. One head predicts the tumor-type glioma, meningioma, pituitary, and the second head tackles the really challenging part, the WHO grade or stage from I all the way to IV.
Okay, the moment of truth. What were the final performance numbers for this whole integrated system?
Pretty strong results. For tumor-type classification, they reported 91.2% accuracy.
91.2%. That's quite good. And for the staging, the WHO grades.
That came in slightly lower at 87.6% accuracy.
87.6% for staging. Still impressive, but noticeably lower than the type classification.
Yes, and that difference is actually quite telling.
Okay, let's dig into that 87.6% staging accuracy. Why is staging generally harder for AI, and what does that specific number tell us about how useful this tool might be in a real clinic?
Well, it tells us the AI is performing quite realistically, actually. It mirrors the challenges clinicians face. Differentiating between tumor types based on imaging can often be more straightforward than distinguishing subtle differences between adjacent grades, especially the higher grades.
You mean telling a grade 2 from grade 3 or 3 from 4?
Exactly. Those distinctions, even for human experts looking at MRI alone, can be incredibly subtle. Often, a definitive grade, particularly for gliomas, requires looking at the tissue itself, a biopsy, molecular markers.
So the AI isn't making wild mistakes, like confusing a very low-grade, relatively benign tumor with a highly aggressive one.
No, and that's a crucial point the researchers highlighted. They looked at the errors, the misclassifications. They found that the mistakes were predominantly between adjacent grades.
Ah, so if it got it wrong, it might mistake a grade 2 for a grade 3, or vice versa.
Precisely. Not mistaking a grade I for a grade 4. This is really important. It means the AI, while not perfect on staging, is making reasonable errors.
Which positions it how, clinically?
It strongly suggests this AI is a powerful complementary tool. It's not meant to replace the pathologist or the biopsy in those tricky cases, but it can give the clinical team a very reliable initial assessment, helping guide decisions, perhaps identifying patients who need that biopsy faster. It aids the workflow.
Right. And to really prove that each part of this complex system was necessary, they did ablation studies, taking bits away to see what happens.
Yes, standard practice in validating these kinds of multi-component systems. You need to show each piece is actually contributing.
And the results.
Pretty stark, actually. If they try to skip the initial segmentation step, just fed the whole brain scan into the feature extractors, the overall accuracy dropped by about 7%.
A 7% hit just from not isolating the tumor first.
Yeah, it confirms that precise segmentation using that attention res unit is absolutely critical. Garbage in, garbage out, basically. You need clean input.
But the result that really jumped out at me was about the topology, the persistent homology.
Yeah.
What happened when they removed that specific feature set?
That was perhaps the most interesting finding. Taking out just the topological features resulted in a significant accuracy drop to around 4%.
4%, just from removing the mathematical shape description.
Think about that. It means that the pure geometric information about the tumor's structure, its holes, its connectivity, captured by pH, carries nearly as much diagnostic weight, or at least contributes significantly alongside all the complex texture and intensity data learned by the deep 3D ResNet.
The shape itself is highly diagnostic.
That's what it suggests. And it directly validates the approach of adding this interpretable mathematical feature. It's not just for show. It demonstrably improves performance.
Which circles back to the clinical value, doesn't it? The pH provides these, maybe not perfectly intuitive, but at least inspectable mathematical values related to shape.
Right. A radiologist can look at them, try to correlate them with the visual appearance. It tackles that black box issue head-on, building confidence.
So the whole package, the accurate segmentation, the fused features including topology, the efficient compression, it seems designed for impact.
Absolutely. The lightweight design achieved via Tucker decomposition, combined with its ability to do both type and stage classification, makes it genuinely promising for those resource-constrained settings we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Getting a prompt, reliable diagnostic assist in those places could substantially improve patient outcomes where time is so critical.
So when you take a step back and look at the whole thing, the full 3D analysis, the smart segmentation with the attention rays you net, adding those interpretable topological features via persistent homology.
Then efficiently compressing it all with Tucker decomposition and getting that clinically relevant multi-output type and WHO stage.
It really does feel like we're seeing a glimpse of the next generation of specialized medical AI diagnostics.
I think so. And the researchers are already pointing towards what's next. They mentioned future work looking into combining persistent homology with other explainability methods.
Like what?
Things like causal modeling,
Yeah.
trying to understand not just correlations, but actual cause and effect relationships in the data, or exploring different ways to do that tensor compression, maybe using other factorizations like CP or tensor train.
It does make you think, doesn't it? We're starting to use pure mathematics, like topology, to give us an objective, somewhat understandable explanation of what a tumor looks like structurally.
Yeah, moving beyond just patterns the AI sees, but we don't understand.
So, how much more powerful could AI become when we merge that kind of structural mathematical explanation with systems that try to explain why a tumor might be behaving a certain way using things like causal inference?
That combination, geometry, deep learning analysis, and causal reasoning,
Yeah.
feels like it could fundamentally shift how we approach these incredibly complex medical decisions. Really powerful stuff to consider.